Part 135. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yun Suya. Chapter 1341. Chapter 1341 Waiting to be knocked down. Tanguo shook her head like a rattle. No, it's just that my body is not in good shape and I get sick easily. It's not as scary as my mother said. Tanguo gave Tang's mother a look to tell her not to talk nonsense. Of course, Tang's mother must not have seen it, or she might have seen it and pretended not to see it. This child has not been in good health since he was a child. He has been sick several times and been to the hospital several times since he took the postgraduate entrance examination. Tanguo lowered her head, feeling a little embarrassed, and silently ate the rice in her bowl. Chu Shenming looked at Tanguo's little head, and a strange light flickered in his eyes. After dinner, Tang's mother said she had a friend throwing a party and wanted to attend, and left. It didn't take long for Tang's father to leave on the grounds that there was something going on in the company. Then 5 minutes after they left, Tanguo received a text message. "Little Candy, your parents won't be back today. Please cherish the opportunity." Tanguo. She knew it was a premeditated escape. Tanguo put down her phone, looked at Chu Shengming opposite her, smiled awkwardly, then picked up the remote control nearby, trying to find a variety show to distract herself. Tanguo thought Chu Shengming would leave soon, but after about half an hour, Chu Shengming had been reading news magazines on the sofa. As if she had no intention of leaving, Tanguo raised her head and looked at Chu Shengming. Although it was a rare opportunity to get together, Tanguo felt that she didn't even know what to say to Chu Shengming. "If it's okay, please tell me again?" "Let's forget it, she's not that thick-skinned yet." But there were only two people in such a big house, sitting opposite each other, looking at each other from a distance, not saying anything, and the atmosphere was really awkward. Tanguo finally plucked up the courage and said to Chu Shengming, "Chu Shengming, do you eat fruit?" Chu Shengming did not raise his head, but nodded and responded softly, "Yes." Tanguo immediately stood up and prepared to go to the kitchen to cut a fruit platter. Tanguo came to the kitchen, and the first thing she did was to turn on her phone and send a message to the WeChat group. "Ah, sisters, Chu Shengming is at my house, it's just the two of us. What should I do? What should I say? Do something." Mu Niankai was the first to reply, "The little fat sheep that came to my door, of course I knocked him down." Tanguo. With her courage and small stature, she might as well forget it. Xia Ying replied, "What, isn't my 12th cousin serving in the military in country S? Yes, but he wanted to give you a surprise at your graduation ceremony today, but who knew you didn't come?" Xia Ying has a black question mark face. "Although I have a good relationship with my 12th cousin, you want to surprise me at the graduation ceremony, this is really not his style." Yeziaksun replied with a smile, "Ha, based on my experience in writing novels, you have met a girl in love, just wait to be knocked down by Chu Shengming." Tanguo. Why is the style of painting becoming more and more wrong? Holy shit. I just looked at Weibo. Why are you guys still on the hot search list, little Candy? Mu Niankai suddenly said something else. Everyone was confused. When they saw what Mu Niankai said, they all opened Weibo, and then after seeing the first hot search, everyone's faces were filled with black lines. Male Chu Sensio and Tanguo are suspected of being in love. End of this chapter. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yun Suya. Chapter 1342. Chapter 1342 Real name Jealousy of Tanguo. At this time, Chu Shenming's cell phone in the living room kept vibrating. After vibrating more than 10 times in a row, Chu Shenming put down the magazine in his hand to see who was sending him frequent messages. "My brother? Do you want to trick me like this? Your relationship with Tanguo was exposed, how come you are related to me?" Do you know how difficult the little princess is to take care of? She still doesn't believe me when I say that I went racing with my friends, thinking that I went to China and cheated. Hurry up and explain to me, otherwise I will spend the rest of my life in a wheelchair. Wait, I seem to have missed the point. So you and Tanguo are together? Mom. Iron trees bloom, rivers flow backwards, meteors hit the earth, and the sun rises from the west. Then a series of sandbox emoticons. Chu Shengming had a dark face and typed a reply slowly, "What on earth are you going to say? Look at the hot searches on Weibo yourself. You and Tanguo were on the hot searches under my name." Chu Shengming frowned, remembering that someone seemed to recognize him as Chu Shenxiu on the road today, but he did not expect that this matter could spread to the internet. This world is really a busy place. Chu Shengming opened Weibo and saw that the news had exploded. It started with a series of media reports, saying that Chu Shenxiu, the national male of S country, was roaming the streets hand in hand with a talented piano girl from China, and their relationship was exposed. Then, a bunch of Chu Shenxiu's fans jumped out. Fans of True Love and Girlfriends will all come to the conclusion below as Sherlock Holmes. That's not us cultivating male gods. Can you see clearly? That was Chu Shengming, the twin brother of Chu Shenxiu. I feel sorry for me, Chu Shenxiu, I can be shot even while lying down, and the unscrupulous media is just setting the pace. How are you in Country S now? The latest update on Weibo is from Country S. How can you go back and forth so quickly? Woo woo woo, that's the brother of our male Chu Shenxiu, he's also a male god, but he's different. Look carefully, he's really different. Hey, shouldn't Chu Shengming be serving in the military in Country S? Why did you go to China? Damn, it's so sweet to think about it. Holy shit. Can't I hide my boyfriend? The real name is jealous of Tanguo and is in the process of separation. Not long after, Chu Shenxiu's Weibo also began to refute the rumors. I am not, I don't know anything. At CSM then there is a sand sculpture accompanying the picture. As soon as Chu Shenxiu posted on Weibo, all the fans gathered over immediately and expressed that they were so amused by Chu Shenxiu that they almost laughed their heads off. He said he didn't know anything, and then he attacked Chu Shengming. It's very obvious. However, the number one hot comment on Chu Shenxiu's Weibo is actually, "Okay, I know my new boyfriend's Weibo, you are so stupid, I'm going to follow him /doghead/." Chu Shenxiu replied this, "Cao Erhang, your new boyfriend is not as handsome as me." The result is very disappointing. The second most popular comment is, "Why do you think Chu Shenxiu's brother Chu Shengming is more handsome /cover your face/?" Chu Shenxiu also replied to this, "Who is it? There is something wrong with his eyes." Because Chu Shenxiu's height exposed Chu Shengming's Weibo, and then many people searched Weibo. I found that Chu Shengming's Weibo was very clean and had grass growing there for many years. The few messages I sent were all innocuous, but none of them exceeded 5 words. However, everyone discovered that Chu Shengming only followed 3 people on Weibo. Xia Ying, Chu Shenxiu, Tanguo. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yuan Suya. Chapter 1343. Chapter 1343, a daughter-in-law of many years becomes a mother-in-law. Ah! What did I see? Chu Shengming paid attention to Tanguo, and I ate a mouthful of sugar dregs. The new male idol I just followed announced his relationship, and I cried, "This world is not worth it." Chu Shengming is so handsome. He looks so handsome to me. If I look at him seriously, I feel he is much more handsome than the funny Chu Shenxiu. Chu Shenxiu discovered from the Weibo comment area that Chu Shengming was paying attention to Tang Guoer's affairs, and then he quickly followed Weibo and found that it was true. Hey! Last time Chu Shengming only followed two people, him and Xia Ying. When did he follow Tang Guoer? Tisk tisk tisk, his brother is hiding so well. At this time, Tang Guoer saw from the WeChat group what Mu Niankai and the others said about what happened on Weibo. Little Candy, Chu Shengming follows 3 people on Weibo, and you are among them. The daughter-in-law became a mother-in-law after many years. Xia Ying excitedly hit several exclamation points, and then said, "Oh my god, my 12th cousin is so well hidden." Little Candy, congratulations on your finally attaining righteousness. I didn't expect my 12th cousin to be so sweet behind the scenes. Mu Niankai then typed a reply, "Let me tell you, Chu Shengming came to see Tang Guoer from the beginning and lied that he came to see Xia Ying." Ye Xiaoxun smiled. So arrogant and sinister. Xia Ying also laughed along with her aunt, her shoulders shaking with laughter as she typed, "Little Candy is gradually falling into the gentle trap of my 12th cousin. Tang Guoer." Tang Guoer went to Weibo to take a look, and sure enough, Chu Shenming's Weibo account CSM followed her. Tang Guoer felt that her face was getting hotter and hotter, and she was cutting the fruit restlessly. All she could think about was that Chu Shengming was paying attention to her own affairs. So, is it true, as they said, that Chu Shengming actually likes him a little bit? Thinking of this, Tang Guoer's thoughts wandered further, thinking of the past, when she followed Chu Shengming cautiously, not daring to breathe, and speaking carefully with her tone and words. At that time, Chu Shengming was the only light in Tang Guoer's heart. Every move she made was to get closer to that beam of light. Tang Guoer was cutting fruit absent-mindedly, completely unaware that a person was standing behind her. Chu Shengming leaned against the doorframe, his usually taut face that showed no emotion at all, but now he was actually a little flustered. The look in Tang Guoer's eyes was unexpectedly gentle. Even he himself didn't realize that Chu Shengming had been standing behind Tang Guoer for several minutes and saw Tang Guoer looking at his phone, so he probably knew what happened on Weibo. Chu Shengming was thinking about what to say, or should he wait for her to ask? Wait a minute, Chu Shengming suddenly realized that it seemed like he had lost his sense of control for the first time and didn't know what to do next. In the past, every step and everything he did was arranged carefully in his mind, step by step according to the plan, but for Tang Guoer, he couldn't do this at all. After all, it is a person, a living person with thoughts and emotions. Moreover, he didn't think he could grasp Tang Guoer's emotional changes, so he could only take one step at a time and be cautious. Ahis! Tang Guoer had been distracted, and accidentally cut his index finger with the fruit knife. Tang Guoer retracted his hand suddenly, and the fruit knife fell to the ground with a clang. And Tang Guoer's white and tender fingers immediately oozed red blood. End of this chapter. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yuan Suya. Chapter 1344. Chapter 1344. I understand now. Tang Guoer was just about to go back to find a band-aid when suddenly a figure rushed to him and held his hand so fast that Tang Guoer didn't even have time to react. Tang Guoer was stunned for a moment. He looked up and saw only a shiny black-haired head. It is Chu Shengming. Tang Guoer's breathing stopped at that moment, and she didn't dare to take a breath. Chu Shengming's tall body enveloped her, making Tang Guoer feel protected for a moment. Chu Shengming lowered his head to check her wound. Fortunately, the wound was very shallow. It would be fine if she took care of it and put a band-aid on it. Come over. Chu Shengming's tone was commanding, and Tang Guoer followed him obediently. Where is the medicine kit? Chu Shengming asked. Tang Guoer was about to get it, but Chu Shengming pulled her back and pressed her down on the sofa. Sit still and I'll get it. The tone of this sentence is unusually soft. Tanguo felt that Chu Shenming's attitude and expression when talking to him were completely different from before. If Tanguo saw it correctly, at that moment, she seemed to see the slightest care and nervousness on Chu Shenming's face. Is Chu Shenming nervous about being injured? However, Tanguo's thought did not last long, and a sentence came from the back of his mind: I don't like stupid women. This is what Chu Shenming once said to Chu Shenxiu. In the past, he just disliked himself for being stupid. She is indeed silly sometimes, but she has had a confused temperament since she was a child and cannot change it. Although she has been trying her best to change, it seems that she still hasn't changed much. Chu Shenming should feel stupid if he can cut any fruit with his hands. Tanguo thought for a while, and Chu Shenming came over with the medical kit and carefully treated Tanguo's wounds. Chu Shenming's eyelashes drooped. Tanguo's heart skipped a beat when she looked at the thick eyelashes, the high nose, and the lightly pursed thin lips. Chu Shenming moved slightly, for fear of hurting her. After all, he had been in the army for a long time, and his behavior was inevitably rough. He felt that he would definitely not be able to do such a delicate job as taking care of a girl, so he could only be more careful. When Chu Shenming touched Tanguo's hand, he felt that her body temperature was hypothermic, and her fingertips were also slightly cold now. After taking care of the wound, Chu Shenming packed the medical kit and raised his eyes to look at Tanguo, whose face had turned red into an apple for some time. He paused what he wanted to say and felt something inexplicable in his heart. A strange warmth. Chu Shenming and Yu Lingfeng had a relatively close relationship in the past. Yu Lingfeng said something to him when talking about Xia Ying. Sometimes, when she blushes, his heart becomes confused. Chu Shenming couldn't understand this feeling before, but now, he understands it inexplicably. The corners of Chu Shenming's mouth raised slightly with an imperceptible arc, and then he said, "Are you a little hypoglycemic?" "Yes, some." Tanguo replied in a low voice that during the postgraduate entrance examination year, because she studied too hard, she is now suffering from hypoglycemia and has not recovered. When you have nothing to do, put a few candies in your pocket to supplement your sugar intake. Tanguo nodded. Chu Shenming put the medicine box away, and when he came back, Tanguo had disappeared. Chu Shenming was surprised for a while, and then headed towards the kitchen again. As expected, Tanguo was cutting fruit. End of this chapter. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yuan Suya. Chapter 1345. Chapter 1345. What do you want to know? Chu Shenming looked at the petite figure, walked over, and walked to a position diagonally behind Tanguo. Tanguo was close enough to Chu Shenming, and then said, "Go to the living room and wait for me. Cut the fruit." Before Tanguo finished speaking, Chu Shenming suddenly grabbed her wrist. Tanguo's body trembled and his movements stopped instantly. "Let me do it, lest you cut your hand again." Chu Shenming grabbed the fruit knife, and Tanguo had to stand aside obediently, quietly watching Chu Shenming cut the fruit. This person exudes a charming brilliance no matter what he does. However, Tanguo chewed on Chu Shenming's words. "She's not stupid enough to fall down twice in the same place, right? I cut my hand once, can I cut it again?" Chu Shenming finished cutting the fruits and arranged them neatly like an obsessive-compulsive disorder, and then walked to the living room carrying the fruit plate. Tanguo said nothing and followed Chu Shenming like a little daughter-in-law. In the following time, Chu Shenming stopped reading magazines. Instead, he watched some saliva variety shows and ate fruit with Tanguo. Tanguo thought it would be strange not to chat all this time, but in her heart, she actually had a lot of things she wanted to ask Chu Shenming. But when the words came to her lips, Tanguo held them back again. She was still too timid and didn't dare to ask anything. "Chu Shenming, when will you return to the army?" Tanguo asked cautiously with his eyes wide open. She thought for a long time about what to say, and then decided on the topic. It should be relatively harmless. The flight will be early tomorrow morning. Chu Shengming said lightly. Tang Guo quickly turned around and looked at the clock behind her. Early in the morning? It's already 9 o'clock, then you. Chu Shengming paused, then stared at Tang Guo and said slowly, you want to drive me away. Tang Guo waved her hands quickly, shaking her head like a rattle, you can also stay at my house. We have 2 guest rooms. I can pack one out for you, but my house is close to the airport, and you can't catch a flight tomorrow. Convenient. Tang Guo didn't know that she didn't know what to say, and she regretted it after saying it. What the hell, she knew clearly that her parents wouldn't be back today, so she still left Chu Shengming sleeping at home. Just her and Chu Shengming in the same room. Tang Guo feels a bit. Who would have known that Chu Shengming responded very naturally, and then continued watching the variety show on TV. Tang Guo opened her eyes wide and swallowed silently. It's over. Today's Chu Shengming is indeed different from before. Should she take the opportunity to ask something? Tang Guo's hands were nervously grasping the hem of her skirt, thinking about something in her mind, but she didn't say anything. Chu Shengming had clearly seen Tang Guo's little actions from the corner of his eye. He just moved his Adam's apple, as if he was waiting for something in his heart, and he was actually a little confused. Chu Shengming. Tang Guo decided not to do anything but ask. Otherwise, Chu Shengming would fly away tomorrow, and the next meeting would have to be several months later, and Chu Shengming might not return to China yet. Tang Guo decided to cherish this hard-won opportunity. I just read Weibo. Tang Guo clenched his hands. Chu Shengming's nerves were also a little tense. What do you want to know? End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yuan Suya. Chapter 1346. Chapter 1346. Not a little bit, I like it very much. Just at this time, Chu Shengming's cell phone rang, and the chat interface was still on the last WeChat message he sent. Yu Lingfeng finally replied to him. Chu Shengming asked Yu Lingfeng, what do you think I should do? The previous chat was about discussions about things on the internet, and Yu Lingfeng also knew something about it. So Chu Shengming had a showdown with him directly. He just likes Tang Guo. Last time when he went to Country S, when Tang Guo gave him the peace charm, he had already awakened his feelings for Tang Guo on the plane. When he was in the army, Chu Shengming even experienced the feeling of missing someone for the first time. So, for Tang Guo's graduation ceremony, he tried his best to get out of the army. Just to meet Tang Guo, and by the way, see if there is anyone else around her. He wanted to tell Tang Guo to wait for him again, this time it wouldn't be too long. Chu Shengming looked at Yu Lingfeng's reply, plop down. Chu Shengming's face turned darker and darker, and he even began to wonder if the person chatting with him across the street was the ascetic and cold Yu Lingfeng. Are you serious about throwing yourself down? Even if they really confirmed their relationship, is it really okay to do this on the first day? Chu Shengming's slender fingers typed back to Yu Lingfeng, cousin Xiaoying, stop making trouble. Xiaoying on the other end of the phone was stunned. Xiaoying was currently sleeping on Yu Lingfeng's lap. She snatched away Yu Lingfeng's phone and deleted the old message that Yu Lingfeng had typed for a long time instructing Chu Shengming on what to do. A set of words, concisely replying to the words Chu Shengming. But Xiaoying didn't expect that her secret would be revealed so quickly, and that Chu Shengming would see it at a glance. It's so hurtful, my 12th cousin can see it. Xiaoying held up her phone to show it to Yu Lingfeng. Yu Lingfeng smiled when he saw Chu Shenming's reply, because he knows I will never teach him to do this. Xia Ying pouted in anger and got up from Yu Lingfeng. I don't think your pre-liberation measures were effective. Yu Lingfeng squinted at Xia Ying and raised the corners of his mouth, so this is the first time I find you so open-minded. Xia Ying felt that Yu Lingfeng's tone was not good, so she quickly reached out and blocked Yu Lingfeng's mouth. She looked at Yu Lingfeng with the expression of a chaste and martyr woman. You are not allowed to think nonsense. Yu Lingfeng half squinted his eyes, smiled and nodded, looking at Xia Ying with eyes full of endearment. Then he took the opportunity to take away his mobile phone and replied to Chu Shenming. Just do what you have to do and say whatever you want. Opportunities wait for no one. Chu Shenming looked at the string of nonsense words and thought to himself that it would be better to be straightforward, as Xia Ying just threw her down. Chu Shenming has zero relationship experience. He doesn't even know how to fall in love or run a relationship, so what he wants is behavioral guidance. Before Chu Shenming could understand anything, Tang Guo'er was already biting her lip and speaking. Chu Shenming, do you like me at all? Chu Shenming looked at Tang Guo'er's tentative eyes and said nothing for a long time. It's not that he doesn't want to speak, but he doesn't know what to say. At this time, Tang Guo'er began to add questions again. If you don't like it, just pretend that I haven't asked you this question. This is the last time I ask you this question, I promise. Although Tang Guo'er's voice was very soft, in the quiet living room, Chu Shenming could even hear the vibrato of each last word of her words. Chu Shenming took a deep breath, met Tang Guo'er's gaze, and nodded seriously. I like it, not a little, but I like it very much. End of this chapter. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yuan Suya. Chapter 1347. Chapter 1347. The important thing is that I like you. At that moment, Tang Guo'er suddenly felt that the whole world had become quiet. Quietly, Tang Guo'er could even hear her own chaotic heartbeat. Tang Guo'er's fingers gripped her sleeves tighter, and her joints turned green and white. Her pupils were dilated. When she looked at Chu Shenming, Chu Shenming's face was still very calm. Calmly, as if what he just said was just Tang Guo'er's imagination. Chu Shenming saw that Tang Guo'er remained silent for a long time, and knew that she must have been frightened by him. Chu Shenming felt funny for no reason, then suddenly stood up and walked towards Tang Guo'er. When Tang Guo'er saw the tall figure getting closer and closer to her, she held her breath and leaned back slightly. Chu Shenming possessed him, and then approached Tang Guo'er with a handsome face. Tang Guo'er's breathing accelerated, and Chu Shenming could clearly feel the trembling of the person in front of him. Chu Shenming squinted his eyes and raised the corners of his mouth. Tang Guo'er saw every detail. Tang Guo'er looked at the face that was only 2 centimeters away from her, and an inexplicable thought suddenly came to her mind. Chu Shenming, could it be that he wanted to? Tang Guo'er was not ready in her heart. The next second, Chu Shenming's warm lips pressed against hers. Tang Guo'er first widened his eyes, and then slowly closed them. Chu Shenming quietly leaned forward and pressed Tang Guo'er against the back of the sofa. Chu Shenming actually didn't know how to kiss at all. He just followed some of his own understanding and slowly tested it, and was extremely gentle. Tang Guo'er was also a novice, and she responded to Chu Shenming's kiss awkwardly. Tang Guo'er's originally stiff body gradually softened. After a while, Chu Shenming let go of Tang Guo'er, who was already blushing. Simply sitting next to her, Tang Guo'er felt that the progress was a bit fast. At first, she just asked Chu Shenming how he felt about her. Who knew that now, she actually kissed Chu Shenming. But it was Chu Shenming who took the initiative, and Tang Guo'er had not recovered from the shock just now. When did you fall in love with me? Tang Guo'er asked cautiously while playing with her hands nervously. Have no idea. Chu Shenming shook his head, turned sideways, looked at Tang Guo'er, and replied seriously, I have always felt that falling in love is a very troublesome thing. I originally thought that I would spend my whole life with one person anyway. If you always like me that much, it's okay to be with you. Tanguo was a little disappointed when she heard this, until Chu Shengming changed the subject, and her eyes instantly became gentle, as 13 said, I may never understand what love is in my life. Originally, I thought so, but then I slowly felt that I fell in love with you. You said before that you don't like stupid girls. Tanguo has been troubled by this sentence for a long time. Chu Shengming squinted his eyes, inexplicably attracted by Tanguo's aggrieved look. That was probably the first time in my life that I lied. Tanguo's expression suddenly changed. First, you are not stupid, you are very smart, you are just relatively simple. Second, I don't have a high emotional intelligence, so being with you is just right, and there is no need to be suspicious of each other. As expected, it's Chu Shengming. It feels like talking about feelings is like analyzing a problem. Well, that's not important. What's important is that I like you. End of this chapter. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yuen Suya. Chapter 1348. Chapter 1348. Chu Shengming kissed me. This night, Tanguo couldn't sleep. When she thought of what Chu Shengming said to her just now, she was so excited that she couldn't sleep. Now those words have been playing in a loop in his mind. Tanguo closed his eyes now, and it was the same expression as Chu Shengming came close to kissing him. Ah! Tanguo suddenly screamed and buried his head in the quilt, his heart beating so hard that he couldn't calm down at all. Tanguo stretched out her hand and started to fumble for her phone. It was already past 12 o'clock. I don't know if they slept. Tanguo still took a chance and posted a message in the group. Chu Shengming kissed me. Xia Ying was immediately blown up, and then she woke up Yu Lingfeng, who was gradually falling asleep next to her. Ah! Yu Lingfeng, Yu Lingfeng, Yu Lingfeng. Yu Lingfeng rubbed his eyes drowsily, then moved closer to Xia Ying twice, and replied lazily, what happened in the middle of the night? Cousin 12 kissed little Candy. Oh! Yu Lingfeng responded and then fell asleep. Xia Ying is still holding her cell phone over there to reply. Ah! How is my 12th cousin's kissing skills? Tanguo blushed immediately when she saw Xia Ying's reply. She didn't reply. She just held her phone and giggled. Mu Niankai replied, I can't imagine how Marshal Chu Shengming looked when they were kissing. It must be very eye-catching. Want to see it? Ye Xiaoxun fell asleep and was unaware of the lively scene in the WeChat group at this moment. So you are officially together? Mu Niankai asked again. Forget it. It definitely counts. The iron tree is blooming. How could they not be together anymore? Maybe my 12th cousin, a straight man, will propose to you after his military service is over directly because of this kiss. Proposal. Chu Shengming seemed to have just said something like living together for a lifetime, so was he really serious about living with him for a lifetime? Tanguo was so excited all night that her heartbeat never returned to normal. Looking forward to it, come on, little Candy. Mu Niankai replied again, and then kicked Hanzija, who was sleeping soundly next to her. This guy knows how to sleep. Hanzija moved his body twice after being kicked. He didn't know that Mu Niankai next to him was looking at him with disgust and was still playing chess with Duke Zhou. The next day, Chu Shengming left early. Before Chu Shengming left, he came to Tanguo's room, planted a sweet kiss on Tanguo's forehead, who was still sleeping, and then left. Since Fanyan left last time, there has been no news. He has not contacted Rongkai for many days in a row. Rong Si felt more and more panicked, especially now that Fanyan was seriously ill. He was very afraid that Junde was cunning. If Fanyan was discovered to have rebelled, the consequences could be imagined. Half a month after the Sanskrit disappeared, Wrong Ci finally couldn't sit still. He planned to go find Junde alone. No matter how wary Junde is, after all, he is also his son, and he will not miss him. So, Wrong Ci slipped out while no one was paying attention. What Wrong Ci didn't realize was that Yu Lingfeng was following him when he went out. Fan Yin has not returned for a long time, and Yu Lingfeng has not thought that he was kidnapped by Junde, but Junde will definitely not kill Fan Yin. After all, Wrong Ci liked her so much. If he killed her, he would be separated from Wrong Ci. He would definitely not do such a thing. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yuen Suya. Chapter 1349. Chapter 1349. You won't hurt the woman you like. Yu Lingfeng also guessed that Wrong Ci would be reluctant to go to Junde alone. Although Yu Lingfeng guessed it, he did not stop him because he felt that this might be an excellent opportunity. Junde was in the company at the moment. When his subordinates came to find him, Junde just raised his eyebrows lightly, as if he had waited for a long time and finally arrived. He also knew that if Fan Yin didn't go back, Wrong Kai would definitely come to find him. Let him in. Junde waved his hand. Wrong Ci went in. Junde was surrounded by top experts, all from shadow hunters. Wrong Ci had seen some of them before, so they looked familiar. With so many masters around him, it's no wonder that Fan Yin failed. Looking for me? Junde drank tea slowly and glanced at Wrong Ci. Where is the Sanskrit? Wrong Ci didn't want to talk nonsense to him, so he just asked Sanskrit. He came here this time just for the Sanskrit music. You don't have anything to say to me? Junde was slightly disappointed and curled his lips. I just want to ask you where Sanskrit is. I want to take her away. Sanskrit, she is sick. I know. Wrong Ci gritted his teeth. It was because Fan Yin was ill and weak at the moment that he did not allow Fan Yin to be in Junde's hands. He wanted Fan Yin by his side, not to mention that Lan 11 could heal her. Only I can cure Fan Yin's illness, and she must stay with me. When Junde said this, he was serious and didn't look like he was lying. Wrong Ci stared at Junde with half-belief. You? How can you save her? She is poisoned. Of course I know. Junde continued, what I can do is much more than you know. Wrong Ci said with a cold face, I don't care about this. I can also save Fan Yin. Today, I must take her away. Don't worry, I won't hurt the woman you like. What's more, Fan Yin was raised by me. Although she has been brainwashed by Yu Lingfeng and the others and came to murder me, I will not argue with her. Because she is like my daughter, I watched her grow up, and I won't care about my own children. Junde had a smile on his face, but he was clearly smiling, but he looked a little creepy and strange. And every word Junde said seemed to be hinting something to Wrong Ci. The words are naturally not stupid, and I can naturally hear, what do you mean? What Yu Lingfeng and the others tell you may not be true. Junde played with the ring on his and continued, as for what the old man told you, it was all his own sophistry. Wrong Ci sneered, the old man you are talking about is your own biological father. He is nothing to me except a sperm. The smile in Junde's eyes cooled down, and then he changed the subject, you can't take Fan Yin away today. She is very ill and can only be cured by staying here with me. One last time, I won't hurt you. The woman you like can leave. Junde turned his swivel chair as he spoke, facing away from Wrong Ci. What on earth do you want to do? The people you are planning to frame are all your close relatives. You are simply crazy. Wrong Ci scolded. Listening to his tone just now, it was clear that he hated Grandpa Jun to the core of his heart. End of this chapter. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yuen Suya. Chapter 1350. Chapter 1350 Mr. Alien. So, it is not difficult to guess how crazy what he will do next will be. Will he find out that Grandpa June is still alive and kill them all? Wrong Ci thinks he probably knows how. After all, among the bad things he has done, this one is really not enough to add to the list. You know, I will never recognize you as my father. Hearing Wrong Ci's cold tone, Jundi's heart suddenly became extremely cold. Jundi closed his eyes slightly and didn't answer anything. Then he heard Wrong Ci's footsteps getting farther and farther away. Etc. Jundi suddenly stopped Wrong Ci. Wrong Ci paused. Have you recovered from your heart disease? If you don't do those things, there might be a chance of recovery. Wrong Ci was only half joking, just giving Jundi a warning. Wrong Ci didn't know how happy Jundi was when she saw him standing in front of her safely and coming to find her. At that time, Wrong Ci was lying in the hospital so weakly. He was extremely scared, afraid that Wrong Ci would really die like this. Jundi opened his mouth, but no words came out. Wrong Ci walked to the door and just closed it when he suddenly bumped into Yu Lingfeng. Wrong Ci looked at Yu Lingfeng in surprise. How did you get in? Yu Lingfeng curled his lips and said, just walk in, it's very simple. But there were so many guards there and layers of electronic equipment blocking the way, how could he possibly get in? Then what are you doing? Wrong Ci felt that he had misplaced the focus, so he quickly changed the topic. Of course I'm looking for Jundi. Yu Lingfeng said, and he opened the door and went in. Wrong Ci was worried and followed Yu Lingfeng and went in again. As soon as Yu Lingfeng came in, those around Jundi subconsciously stopped him. Who would have thought that Jundi was sitting on the sofa chair, with his back to Yu Lingfeng and Wrong Ci, and said slowly, step back. Then all those people withdrew. Jundi turned around on the sofa and met Yu Lingfeng's dark eyes that seemed to be free from anxiety. Yu Lingfeng's lips twitched downwards. Did you know I was coming? Of course, I guessed it when Wrong Ci came. Jundi's smile was very confusing. It was difficult for others to see through him, but he could see through others easily. He was indeed a player with high IQ and EQ, an extremely difficult enemy to deal with. Not only that, I can also guess what you are doing here. Jundi still had a warm smile on his face, a smile that looked kind, but no one knew what kind of insidiousness, cunning, viciousness and cruelty were hidden under his smile. You are definitely not here to find Fanyin. After all, you are not as emotional as Wrong Ci. Jundi glanced at Wrong Ci, looked at Yu Lingfeng, and continued, I guess, you are such a conceited and powerful person, probably are you planning to take this opportunity to get close to me and then kill me in one fell swoop. Yu Lingfeng frowned, feeling more and more that he couldn't understand the person in front of him. If you don't speak, it means you admit it. Jundi stood up and looked at Yu Lingfeng again. The smile on his face gradually faded, and his eyes looking at Yu Lingfeng became more like examining and sizing him up. It's like looking at the items displayed in a display window. Yu Lingfeng hated being stared at like this. Should I call you Yu Lingfeng or Yu Moliang, Mr. Alien? End of this chapter.